Let's spend a few minutes and look at the tentative schedule, which is already posted, and it's fairly well planned out. And the website's right there. But two things to note, all lectures will be on Zoom, and we will have synchronized lectures. So you will be able to ask questions and we can talk back and forth. These will be recorded and posted. The class website, which is here, and I will show you shortly how to access it, will have the most up-to-date announcements and all the information. So please check here first. Okay, so let's take a moment and look at the class website. So I'm going to click on that, which should open up this website. And you can go over here, and here you can see Optics for Energy Fall 2020 IVC. So click on that, and you will see all these things. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit so it makes it easier to read. So first of all the announcements will be posted here. And everything I say here will also be mirrored on Canvas, but I would say if you were ever in doubt and you cannot log into Canvas, I would check here first. Okay, but they should be identical except for some passwords for Zoom and Slack, which I will talk about shortly. So I've been teaching this class for several years, and I wanted to emphasize a few things that are new in 2020. Of course, the first thing is that we unfortunately won't be meeting in person. So this will be an interactive virtual class, which does not mean it doesn't have to, we don't have to sacrifice the interactiveness of an in-person class. And I really want to take advantage of all the modern tools here that are available to us to make this a very rich and a learning experience for all of us. So we'll utilize various free tools, particularly Slack for collaboration. And I will post all the details on how to sign up in Canvas. Zoom, of course, you're probably familiar with this now, which allows you to do in-person remote video meetings as well as take videos and presentations. So you will, as a team, you will be making presentations over Zoom. I also really like Adobe Spark, but this is, of course, just a recommendation to make beautiful presentations and pages. And finally, we will be using Code 5, like tools, and possibly other software, which have all been very generously donated by Synopsys for use by students. Of course, this is only available to the students who are registered for this class. One important thing to keep in mind is that these software tools are industry standard software tools. So if you go work at Google or Apple or Facebook or Amazon, you will most likely be using these sorts of tools to do optical design. So this is one of the main reasons I want you to have the experience of having seen this before. All sections will meet on Zoom with synchronized lectures. Section 90 has a different grading schedule, and Section 90 students are also welcome to attend the synchronized lectures, but they do not have to, and they're slightly different grading. We will have a dedicated Slack channel for remote collaborations, team projects, and to create a long-term community. You will have access to these channels as long as you want, even after this class is over. We will have Zoom office hours on Wednesday, 6 to 7 Mountain Time. Again, this can be changed depending upon your availability. So email me or message me on Slack once that's set up. We'll have an interesting partnership with VentureWell, which I will talk about more as we go along. This is an opportunity to gain access to a nationwide entrepreneurial network, an opportunity potentially to gain funding for your startup ideas. And I'm very, very excited to announce that we'll have several new guest lectures from industry representing companies such as Intel, Google X, Apple, Synopsys, etc. So these are very critical for us, and so we can get a really good feeling for what is happening in industry. So what you learn in these classes, how are these principles applied in actual real world? And this is really what I want you to get out of this class. Again, just to reiterate, we learn and have access to industry relevant optical design software. So the objective of this class is we will study the exciting intersection of optics and the engineering challenges associated with the generation, distribution, utilization of energy with a specific goal of generating novel ideas and business plans for commercialization. Technically, we will cover the basics of non-imaging optics, which will allow us to apply these basics to the design of solar concentrators and other light collectors. We'll also study the science and engineering of sunlight measurement, strategies of light management for solar cells, design of solar cookers, hot water system, daylighting, resource recycling, etc. So we'll go along. There's lots of detail about the class here, grading. We've talked about it, but let me go in a little bit more and we'll talk again a bit more detail. There will be one midterm exam comprising 20% of grade. The rest of the grade will be based on team projects. There will be 6 assignments comprised of 4 team presentations, which are 15% of the grade each, and 2 written reports, which are 5% and 15% respectively. So we'll see shortly. The teams will be assigned by me, and we will also be assigning commercialization mentors for each team, and you'll be expected to meet with them as per the schedule, as I will specify shortly. All the explicit instructions for all assignments, presentations will be provided in the class. Okay, for the section 90 students, they will follow the same schedules below, and all lecture recordings, everything will be posted here and on Canvas. The only key difference is that the grading will be based on the 6 team assignments alone, and the grading is as specified here. Okay. Again, online students will also work in small remote teams to complete all their assignments. Okay, I'm going to skip through all the university policies which you are welcome to read through, and it's very important that you read through. Now, let's go through the schedule very briefly. So today we are here talking about the overview of the course. Next week, we'll talk about some potential project topics. So about 80% of the grade for this class is based on projects, so team projects. So it's very important to get started early on, first of all, an overview of project topics, selection of project topics, creation of teams, and then actually started working on the projects. In the following week, we'll start with geometrical optics. So we'll have 2 lectures in geometrical optics, which is basically the foundation of what's required for designing imaging systems. And then after that, we'll talk about sunlight, some basic ideas of thermodynamics, and some fundamental concepts of what is known as non-imaging optics, so things like solar concentrators, lighting systems, automobile illumination systems, for instance. So it's a very, very broad area, very important area in industry and also in academia. And your first assignment actually will be here on September 8th, which is quite simple. You're going to come up with a team name and a plan for remote work. Okay. And what I mean by that is I want you to come up with a schedule, a regular schedule, where you meet with your team at least once a week, more if you need be, on Slack, Zoom, so you don't have to meet in person, and spend at least an hour or so making progress towards your project. Okay, and have a committed plan, and this is just what 1-page document. And then the following week, you have your assignment 2, which is a literature review presentation. I'll talk more about later on. And all the, as you can see here, for instance, all the lecture notes, all the resources are all posted here. Lecture notes are PDF, even the slides that I'm presenting today will be uploaded here as well. And also instructions for assignments will be presented here. And I will emphasize these as we go along through the semester. Next, we'll talk about radiometry, photometry. The following week, we will start working with numerical techniques of ray tracing, which is using software to do the optical design for your to simulate optical systems using 2 different options. I'm still trying to schedule a webinar from Synopsys. So we have a tutorial on how to utilize their software systems, which again is freely available to you. These are really expensive pieces of software, freely available to you as a use to it. Then we have assignment 3 on September 29th. I will talk more about that later on. And we'll talk a little bit about statistical optics and some applications of optics in recycling. and then a little bit more on measurement approaches for photovoltaics and spectral splitting. These are some novel approaches of using optics to improve photovoltaics performance. And then we are towards the middle of the semester. We will have a midterm review and a midterm exam on October 15th. And again, this will be open everything, but timed in Canvas. Most like, and I'm still trying to schedule that properly, but most likely you will have a certain period of time where you can, you will be given the questions and submit the answers. Again, all remotely, so you do this at home. Most likely this will be during the class hours. Again, the section 90 students do not do this. Then the second half of the semester, we are going to start learning a little bit deeper into the physics of solar cells and then into entrepreneurship. So this is a very exciting part of the class where we start talking about something called the business model canvas. And this is, as engineers, is very important for us to understand the impact of what we are doing and how we can actually get it out there into the real world without that to make a difference for people. And this is one of the tools which will help us, you know, to do this analysis and how to execute on an idea or an innovation. And then later in October, we are very fortunate to have the University of Utah's Technology Venture Commercialization Office um, attend our class and host a commercialization Zoom panel discussion. Now here, we will be having entrepreneurs who have actually started companies give us their experience, and this is an opportunity for you to interact with people out in the field who are actually doing this or have done this and learn from them. We'll also have this VentureWell guest webinar, which again, I'm in the process of scheduling, so it's not quite there yet. And we'll talk about a little bit more on the business canvas here. The following week is your next present assignment, which is build out and deep analysis, which again, I'll talk about more. Then we have luminescent concentrators, and then we'll talk a little bit more about LEDs and solar cells. And then the last week before Thanksgiving, we have a very special set of guest speakers. One from Apple. We'll be talking about Apple optics and consumer electronics in the industry. And that day, your assignment 5 is also due, which is your final business canvas and a video pitch. I'll tell you what that means. And then we'll also have a guest speaker, Kunjal Parikh from Intel, who is an expert in the optics for displays and perceptual computing. The week of Thanksgiving is essentially a free week. We have an extra day here where if there are things that we haven't covered here, we can use that for this slot for. So I'm keeping that a little bit flexible. And then there's Thanksgiving. And then last week, again, we have very wonderful guest speaker, Philip Schmazel from Google X, who will be talking about his efforts on floating solar. So this was a very unique project initiated and led by Philip, who took it all the way from innovation to actual demonstration systems, all within the context of Google. And he will give us a fascinating discussion about his experience. Now, September 3rd, we'll have assignment 6, which is your business plan commercialization presentations. Now, just to clarify, all the presentations will actually happen in Zoom live during the class time on those particular days. Now, I'll emphasize this again. Okay, so let's go back to our lectures. And